talk about making your way through this maze, this trials and tribulations, all the craziness that we've got going on. That's what we're getting into today, kind of the secret of being resilient, strengthening yourself. There are a couple of key elements to that, and that's what we're getting into today on this high performance call. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew David. If you are joining for the first time or one of your first times, maybe yesterday was the first time and you're wondering what the heck's going on now. The purpose of these high performance calls, there's multiple reasons that we do them. I am here to help you develop yourself in one way or another. Hopefully, my goal each and every day is to impart at least one nugget, one little bit of information that one of you picks up each and every day. And if more of you get it, then great. But hopefully one of you picks up something that allows you to take a step forward in the right direction, or strengthens you through some obstacle, some challenge that you have going on currently. We also get into marketing and advertising and other skills that are going to help you with your business. But overall, guys, life as an entrepreneur is not single focus on one task or another. You need to become well-rounded. And so our goal here is to help you become as well-rounded an individual as possible. My name is Andrew David. I've been working online for a number of years. I have been a business coach for individuals and corporations, and I have struggled through my own stuff. This last year has been crazy for all of us, everybody here. We've had all sorts of nonsense that has happened, from political machinations all over the world, because it wasn't just happening here in the United States, from China to Europe and Australia and everybody everywhere else. We've had all sorts of craziness happen politically. You've had social media nonsense going on from political parties, from different organizations that were trying to create a movement, both positive and negative. We've all dealt with a pandemic that has affected us in ways that many of us never thought that we would, other than seeing some movies on HBO or at the theaters where you said, oh, that's crazy. I wonder if that's ever going to happen. And here we are. And the next step at this point is just waiting for a bunch of zombies to start popping up, and we're running around and trying to get away from them, right? Or giant tomatoes that come chasing us like the crazy movies from the 80s. Who the heck knows? We were forced to stay home. People that always talked about wanting to work from home were forced to do it, and then went, wait a minute, this is absolutely bonkers. I don't know if I want to spend this much time with my family. My relationship was great when we spent 8 to 10 hours of the day apart. I don't know what I'm going to do to make it through the next year if this is what we've got to do. You've got kids that are going to school at home, under your feet, not getting their work done, not getting the attention they need from a teacher, not getting the friendship and being accompanied by their friends that allowed them to grow in ways that you just can't provide at home. And how are we getting through all of this when our favorite restaurant is closed and we can't go sit down there for happy hour or our favorite appetizer? And then all of you decided to make this crazy decision to get into online marketing and go, hey, I'm going to do it like they do it. And half of you are sitting around going, what the hell did I get myself into? And yet here we are. Being resilient is a lot more than just getting through your day, guys. There is a power to resilience that if you are willing to strengthen yourself, you can accomplish anything you need to. But it's this knowledge that the day-to-day isn't going to derail me completely, because I've got to focus on where I want to be. So I'm going to give you kind of 3 key things, 3 elements, and I'm absolutely borrowed this from one of my favorite speakers, Brendon Burchard. So there's going to be things, if you go and study his training on it, I'm completely ripping off some of it, but I'm going to feed in some of my elements in my life to it, and hopefully relate it in a way that you guys can pick out something that will help you become a little more resilient yourself. Is that cool with everybody? All right. And I am claiming that right off the bat. So you don't, there's no, hey, he's just plagiarizing that. Well, yeah, because Brendon's pretty smart. Here's the thing about resilience. Okay. And this is a quote, and you can find it from him. But resilience is the promise of the human spirit that it can rise through the most difficult times in life and recapture its sense of aliveness and connection and meaning, and move forward with great faith and optimism. Let me share my screen so you can see directly this quote, and I will read it one more time. Resilience is that promise of the human spirit that it can rise through the most difficult times in life and recapture its sense of aliveness and connection and meaning and move forward with great faith and optimism. Now, there are things that you go through in this life and you think you're being optimistic and you think you're experiencing resilience, but in truth, you're reacting more than you were planning and moving yourself forward. Now, the first thing in resilience, what Brendan talks about here, is to understand that hurt and pain are simply the indicators. If you're driving along in the vehicle of life, you're rocking and rolling down the road, you've got to understand that hurt and pain are the indicators. They're the signs. They are not the wheel or the engine. They should not be, at least, the wheel or the engine. A lot of us are going through life, and what we're doing truly is we're reacting to pain and we're reacting to hurt, and we're doing everything that we can to move away from the pain and the hurt, as opposed to taking a hold of the wheel and controlling the engine to get our vehicle where we want to be. How many of you guys have driven around in your car, and as you're driving around, you have a light pop on, and that light may be something, and you check it and you realize that, it's the emergency brake light. It says your brake is on, and then you check and you go, no, the brake light's not, my brake is down. My brake isn't on. So the light is busted. Or you get your check engine light pops on and you take it to the mechanic and they fix it, but they forget to change that light. So the light is there, and really you should be paying attention to it, but you're still able to get going even though the light is on, right? Andrew Little, yeah, surviving and existing. So you're going through life reacting simply to the pain and hurt, and maybe you're doing it in a way that has kept you like you're holding on to something that you've been hurting with for a long, long time. And so any little thing that starts to remind you of that, you turn away. Or it's a story that you heard from your parents of some hurt that they experienced, and so you turn away from it. You had some bad business experience years ago, and so you start to equate any little action that you put in place here with the same thing. You can't do that. You can't. There's an example that I use. I remember growing up, and I was in church, and I was a missionary in Brazil for a little while, and there's an example. You guys, if any of you have ever been really in any church, any religion, they talk about following a certain pathway and following teachings, and there's a common phrase with this talking about the straight and narrow path, right? The pathway to heaven, whatever your view of that is, or higher power, whatever, is a straight and narrow one. It's not wide. It's something that you've got to walk. It can be treacherous. There's all sorts of things that you've got to overcome, and you have to continue to move forward. And then you have people, and think about it. Think about, anytime you've been to any kind of organization, whether it be religious or with work or even inside of your family, there are people that go around, and all that they do, they're walking on that path themselves, but really all that they do is they point out all of the pitfalls. They point out the obstacles. They point out the traps. There's a hole right here. Careful, there's a cliff over there. And sometimes they get stuck and they want to warn everybody about every problem. And so you're walking along the path and you're passing this person. They're saying, whoa, wait. Evangeline, Lynn, Juliana, hey, be careful. There's a hole. There's a pit right here. And you go, it's okay. I'm going to walk around. No, but there's a hole. You got to look out for the hole. And you go, okay, well, thank you. And I'm going to roll around and I'm going to keep going. But those people are standing there screaming at everybody. They don't realize that they're not advancing down the pathway at all themselves. They're stuck because they fell into a hole a little while back, or maybe they fell into that one and they're standing there screaming out how dangerous that hole is as everybody else is passing them by. How many of you are doing that in your life? You're reacting to hurt. You're reacting to pain. You're reacting to some fall that you had right now, recently, or in the past little bit. Maybe it wasn't recent. Maybe it's been a while. And you're reacting to those indicators and not the actual wheel. And what you need to do is pick yourself up and keep yourself moving forward. Signs are important. But how many times have you been on a highway stuck behind someone that's got their blinker light on and you're waiting for them to turn or get the heck out of your lane? Meanwhile, you're just rolling along right behind them, slowing down because you think that they're going to be the ones changing lanes or getting out, and you just keep on going, and you don't pay attention to the fact that the next lane is wide open, or you drive right by your exit because you're waiting on this idiot with his turn signal on, and you're reacting as opposed to being in the driver's seat. So resilience is dealing with that hurt and pain and not letting it derail you completely, and being able to stand up and say, it's not just picking myself up today, but it's finding a way to course correct. Not just over the day, over the week, but in general. If something takes me off of course, because the reality is hurt and pain isn't going to be vacant from our lives. And we're going to have to learn to deal with it. But we've got to be able to course correct despite that. Okay, so number one is that hurt and pain are indicators. They're not the wheel. And number two, one of the ways that you can become more resilient is something that I talk about all of the time. Brandon talks about it. All sorts of people do. But it's something that incredibly successful high performers, people that really are able to push themselves forward, they always do, is they generate clarity for themselves. And they're clear on what they want to achieve. So they're clear on where they want the vehicle to go. They're clear on where they want their hands on the wheel. They're clear on what they need their engine to do. And they're not paying as much attention to the other stuff. I know why I want to do something. And so I'm able to overcome waking up a little bit sick or not feeling real well or getting stressed at work or having a frustrating conversation with a spouse. And I'm able to get over it. And a lot of you guys, I say this with as much love as possible. A lot of you guys need to get over it and quit playing the victim. You think you're being resilient because you get through a day, but you've got to pick yourself up and you've got to course correct. And I know some of you are saying, well, it's easy, Andrew, for you to say that because you haven't experienced this or you haven't experienced that. And you know what? I'll tell you, I probably haven't experienced everything, but I've experienced plenty. And if I haven't, I promise I've worked with somebody that probably has, or have a family member that has. Okay, here's what I want to do real quick. So I don't know if I am pinned right now. If I'm the only person in your screen, I'm going to remove the spotlight for just a second. I want you guys to see everybody. So if you have your camera available, please pop on for just a moment. By raise of hands, and before I do this, if you can type into the chat, any of you that are available, if not, kind of raise your hands and say it. I just want you to type in, I'm here and I'm open. I'm here and I'm open. And I'm asking you to do this because I'm going to ask you guys to share something in a second. And I want everyone to feel that this is a safe space. This is something where all of us are in this boat together, and how much you want to share is totally up to you. But I want you to realize that everybody else is here and they are open, and there's no judgment going on here. But by raise of hands or comments in the, and I know some of these questions may not be easy, but I just want you to understand that you're not alone. So either by raise of hands or dropping it into the chat, how many of you have experienced divorce? Either you and a spouse or when you were growing up. How many of you have experienced divorce? I have. How many of you have ever lost a loved one that was close to you? Spouse, parent, child? How many of you have ever felt betrayed in one way or another, whether business or personal dealings? How many of you have ever experienced that? How many of you have overcome or are currently facing a major health challenge in one way or another? Cancer, tumors, something else? Guys, I can go on and on. I guarantee with this group, I could probably ask how many of you have been arrested, and there would be some. I can ask how many of you have dealt with addictions, and there would be a number of you, a number of us. How many of you have had to deal with family members that were addicted? I could ask about abuse. How many of you have been abused? And the number would surprise you, I promise. There may be people on here that have been kidnapped. People on here who've had their identity stolen. People who've been bankrupt. You've lost a job. you've had to start over, you were forced to move, something happened that completely uprooted your life. We've all gone through a lot. The reason I'm bringing this up is simply to let you know there are moments when you're going to say, or you're going to want to say to yourself, yeah, but Blake doesn't understand, Andrew doesn't understand, Lynn doesn't understand, Hartley doesn't, all those people, they just don't get it. They don't get what I've been through. And you know what? Maybe your close family or those that were affected the same way you were, maybe they don't get it quite as much, but the world at large, for the most part, the rest of us, we've either experienced it or experienced some of it, or we've got friends that have. And it would surprise you to know what some of the people on this call have been through. I've been privileged enough to have conversations with some of you, and you've shared things that, you know, in all truthfulness, some of the things that you guys have been through, I don't know. It would break me. I like to think that I'm resilient. I like to think that I can get through a lot of things, but you've been through a lot. And so congratulations on the fact that you're here and alive and breathing and maybe even smiled at some point today. That in and of itself is an accomplishment, ladies and gentlemen. But if you want to be resilient at that next level, you've got to be clear on why you're dealing with the bullshit. If you're not, there is going to be a struggle, and that struggle will be daily, and it will eventually beat you down. So when I talk about being clear and being willing to commit to yourself, that's what I'm talking about. You know, and then that puts all the rest of this kind of into perspective. Oh, my logo didn't come out right. Oh my gosh. Well, there's more to it, right? Lift yourselves up. So clarity on what you want to achieve and why. And all of this kind of comes to the third one, where understanding that a lot of other people have gone through things, but if you're holding on to things for a while, yeah, a pity party won't get me where I want to go. Absolutely. And Rick, you're absolutely right. Out of adversity comes opportunity. It really can. There's a saying that I like that is essentially, I love when all hell breaks loose, because I know right around the corner, the blessings will be there, right? As long as I keep going and I don't get caught up in the traps and everything else, I just keep going. If you are in the position, though, where some of those thoughts of I'm too alone, I can't make it, I don't know what's going on, you know, they just don't understand, or you're holding on to certain things from longer than just a little while ago. Some of those, you know, a couple people, I think it was Jeannie, posted about the betrayal and trust and causing those issues. That happens, right? If I'm still holding on to a divorce from 10 years ago or 20 years ago, or something that happened as a kid, guys, find a therapist. And this is your third thing when it comes to being resilient. If you need that support, I would love to say that daily motivation and doing that personal development work, and maybe it's a book, and maybe it's something that I say, maybe it's some other podcast, or it's something that you read. Maybe that's what opens the door. Maybe that's what triggers you to move forward, to finally start to tear those chains off of you. But if you need help, there are people that are out there. Find someone that you can connect with that's willing to listen and help you work through some of those issues. There's nothing wrong with that support when it comes to being resilient, especially if it helps you understand that you are simply not alone. Looking at all of these things and understanding what we all go through, some of the little challenges that we have when it comes to customization or posting a headline on social media, or man, I tripped up a few times with my video, or I'm struggling writing this email. Does it put all of that into perspective a little bit? Guys, be willing to lift yourself up and understand that you can course correct. You can step out from the shadows. You can become the absolute best version of yourself possible. But coal doesn't turn into a diamond by simply being there, right? I always talk about fire. One of the things about fire is that opportunity to purify, but there's a transformation that occurs with fire, right? The state of matter, just about anything that's there when exposed to fire, is going to change. we're going to get burned once in a while. You got to be willing to tell yourself that you are the fire, that you're going to be able to step up. April's saying, in the past 3 years, I've had a therapist, spiritual director, coach, sometimes more. If you're unwilling to invest in yourself in that way, be it personal development, coach, therapist, whatever, life's going to be an interesting ride. But if you are willing to, there's nothing you can't accomplish, each and every one of you. So decide today to become a little bit more resilient. Think about the 3 things that I just talked about. Understand that hurt and pain are the indicators. They are not the wheel. They are not the engine. Find clarity in what you ultimately want to achieve so that you can generate the strength to course correct and get where you need to be. And if needed, find a therapist, find a coach, find help to get you there, right? You are not alone. You're capable of amazing things. And on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. Sit and think about some stuff today. I will talk with everybody tomorrow. As always, appreciate, love you guys much. Have a good day, guys.